If somebody is doing something that is useful to the rest of society, I think that's a good thing. Like, it doesn't have to change the world. Like, if you're doing something that has high value to people, and frankly, even if it's something, if it's like just a little game or some improvement in photo sharing or something, if it has a small amount of good for a large number of people, I think that's fine. Like, stuff doesn't need to be changed the world just to be good. My advice if somebody wants to start a company is they should bear in mind that the most likely outcome is that it's not going to work. And they should reconcile themselves to that strong possibility. And they should only do it if they feel that they are really compelled to do it. The way starting a company works is like, usually in the very beginning it's kind of fun, and then it's really hellish for a number of years. There's a friend of mine who's a successful entrepreneur, started actually his career around the same time as I did, and he has a good phrase. His name's Willie. He said, "Yeah, starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. And if you don't eat the glass, you're not going to be successful." You know, a lot of life in general, in any job, there's like, you have to do your chores. You know, there's...
Because nobody else can do that for you, right?
Well, I think to be successful at almost anything, you have to do the tough stuff and as well as the enjoyable stuff. You have to do the boring stuff as well as the non-boring stuff. And if you don't do your chores, then bad things will happen. But if they don't do the things they don't like to do, then the company will be in trouble. Like, you have to, you basically, like, it's more fun to cook the meal than to clean the dishes. Okay, but you need to clean the dishes.
You need to do both.
Yes, you need to do both, exactly. Really liking what you do, whatever area that you get into, given that, you know, even if you're the best, there's always a chance of failure. So I think it's important that you really like whatever you're doing. If you don't like it, life is too short. You know, I'd say, and also if you like what you're doing, you think about it even when you're not working. It's something that your mind is drawn to, and if you don't like it, you just really can't make it work. The odds of you losing the money that you've invested or your friends have invested is pretty high. I mean, those are just basic facts. If you don't mind things being really hard and high risk, then starting a company is a good idea. Otherwise, it's probably unwise. Will certainly stress you out. So I think you have to be pretty driven to make it happen. Otherwise, you'll just make yourself miserable. And once you have a family, you start taking risks not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It gets much harder to do things that might not work out. So now is the time to do that before you have those obligations. So I would encourage you to take risks now. Do something bold. You won't regret it. When you're building something new, there's going to be mistakes. And it's important to recognize those mistakes, acknowledge them, and take corrective action. And the success of a company is very much more about how quick are you to fix the mistakes, not will you make mistakes.
Or admit mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you see the difference between a startup that is successful and one that is not, and it's because the successful one, they both made mistakes, but the successful one recognized the mistakes, fixed them very quickly, and the unsuccessful one tries to deny that the mistakes exist. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I like failure. Who likes failure? It's terrible. But if you only do things that are certain to succeed, then you're only going to be doing very obvious things. I mean, I think there's like some entropic basis for this. Like, there are many more ways to fail than to succeed. So you have to explore. I mean, particularly like for a rocket, there's like 1,000 ways to think and fail, and like one way it can work. So you could have a lot of rocket failures to explore all the ways in which you can fail. So failure is not a big stigma. So it's like if you try hard and it doesn't work out, that's okay. Like, you can learn from that and do another company, and it's not a big deal. I think it's very important to seek out to actively seek out and listen very carefully to negative feedback. And this is something that people tend to avoid because it's painful.
Yeah.
But I think this is a very common mistake, is to not actively seek out and listen to negative feedback. A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends. Usually your friends know what's wrong, but they don't want to tell you because they don't want to hurt you. So they'll say, oh, I would encourage my friend, so I'm not going to tell him what I think is wrong with his product. Yeah. It doesn't mean your friends are right, but very often they are right. And you at least want to listen very carefully to what they say. When friends get a product, I say, look, don't tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. And because otherwise your friend is not going to tell you what he doesn't like. This guy's going to say, oh, I love this and that, and then leave out the this is the stuff I don't like list. Because he wants to be your friend, doesn't want to offend you. So you really need to sort of coax negative feedback. And you know that if somebody is your friend, or at least not your enemy, and they're giving you negative feedback, then they may be wrong, but it's coming from a good place. And sometimes even your enemies give you good negative feedback. If you're creating a company or if you're joining a company, the most important thing is to attract great people. So either join a group that's amazing, that you really respect, or if you're building a company, you've got to gather great people. I mean, all a company is a group of people that have gathered together to create a product or service. And so depending upon how talented and hardworking that group is, and the degree to which they are focused cohesively in a good direction, that will determine the success of the company. So do everything you can to gather great people if you're creating a company. When you hire people, or really what you're trying to, when you hire people, that just means you're convincing people to join you in the endeavor. You should hire people that are also passionate about what you're doing. So it's not just that they're not just there for salary, that they really need to care about what they're doing. And then they will stay during the dark times. If you're going to create a company, you have to come up with a product or service that you think would be compelling, that would serve some need. And then really a great company is just built around great product or service. That's the whole purpose of a company, is to propagate that product or service and put it in the hands of people who would find it useful. And so I think that's the main thing, is try to think of the most useful thing you could do for your fellow human beings, and then a company is the process of scaling that up and in scope, increasing that in scope and scale. When you're trying to create a company, what you're really trying to do is organize a group of people to do something useful. Something useful is as measured by other people who are the consumers of your products and services. This may seem like an obvious thing, but often people will organize groups into a company that doesn't produce something useful.